Day 63 on the Florida Trail. I'm getting a pretty good early start because it's going to be warm today. Now, I'm no expert, but the water levels don't look very high. So I think that's promising for this trail. I shouldn't have to get wet feet. The birds are so happy in the morning. And me too. So the plan for this day, it's gonna be a baby day. I think I'm gonna knock out 6 miles and then be done because we have a reservation at a state park this evening and I am so excited. Can you tell that I have not showered for a week? Oh, I can hardly wait. And it's funny because normally 6 miles is like nothing for me now. But back in the day when I was at home, 6 miles is a long ways. But now, 6 miles is a piece of cake. Let's get her done. Yeah, this is really pretty in here. I'm at 3 Lakes Wildlife Management Area still. I think I'll be here for a couple days. Interesting plant life in the water. Another blessing, the way God's worked it out for today, is that it's supposed to be 86 degrees for the high. So I am so glad I do not have to walk that this afternoon. Phew, I would have melted. Yesterday was hard enough. After the first plague where Egypt's water all turned to blood, Pharaoh wasn't impressed and he hardened his heart. He wouldn't let God's people, the Israelites, go into the wilderness to make sacrifices. So God had Moses go to Pharaoh again and said, "Let my people go." And if he wouldn't let them go, then frogs would invade the territory. They would come in from the river and go into their bedrooms and beds and ovens and bread bowls and all over the people. You see, frogs were sacred animals to the Egyptians, and one of their deities, Heka, was a frog-headed goddess thought to possess creative power. Though the chief purpose of this plague was to punish the oppressors of Israel, it was also designed to cast contempt upon their many heathen gods. God says, "If you want to worship frogs, then I'll give you frogs." The frog goddess, because of the great multiplication of frogs, appears not only ridiculous but vicious. She was tormenting the very people who claimed to be her most ardent devotees. And because of their religious superstitions, even though the frogs were tormenting them, they wouldn't kill them. Think about having so many frogs that you had to listen to their constant croaking and you couldn't avoid stepping on their cold, clammy skin. You couldn't get away from them. It would drive some people insane. Well, the Egyptian magicians said they were able to bring up frogs too from the river with their enchantments. However, Pharaoh did call up Moses and Aaron and said, "Please entreat your God to remove these frogs." Isn't it interesting that Pharaoh's magicians were able to produce the frogs? Why didn't Pharaoh ask them to remove the frogs? Tiny bit of a road walk, but I see my sign. So this obdurate king, who had stubbornly endured the first plague until God had chose to remove it, now was forced to acknowledge the impotence of his own gods and to call upon the God of the Hebrews for help. So Moses said to Pharaoh, "When would you like the frogs to be gone?" We may think this a strange question. However, it was to give evidence that his gods were useless and to acknowledge the Almighty God of the Hebrews. Pharaoh answered, "Tomorrow." How strange that he would want any plague to last longer than it has to. Dry Pond campsite. What a lovely, lovely place to camp. These trees are just stunning. But that dry camp says it all. There's no water. Pharaoh said the next day, because he was secretly hoping the frogs would disappear themselves and thus save him from bitter humiliation of submitting to the God of Israel. The plague continued, however, until the time specified, and then throughout Egypt they died, and they were gathered in heaps, and the land stank. And when there was respite, Pharaoh again hardened his heart and wouldn't let them go. My mom said she met a man from northern Michigan, and he says that this area that I'm walking through is a world famous birding destination. And in January, members of the Audubon Society come here in droves. There's so many birders. So I feel very privileged to be here. However, I wish I knew my birds. Such a shame. But if you're a birder, you gotta come to Three Lakes in Florida. For some reason, the birds like it here. Fabulous, huge, majestic oaks. I'm in different habitat now for the birds. My question to you is God knocking on your heart and trying to get your attention? When the going gets tough, we call out to God. And when things get comfortable, we forget about God. Something to think about. Well, I'm not going to be able to hike as far as I thought I was today because there's construction apparently. So 4.75 miles, that's the end of my day. That was too easy of a day. Now I get to go have some more fun, different fun. I'm excited. Thanks for watching.